Welcome to Lesson 3. This is part 1 of 5 parts. Be sure you have completed all videos from Lessons 1 and 2 before watching Lesson 3. In Lesson 3, we're going to work on defining a plan for a simple project. This lesson is the real meat of Microsoft Project. As with the other lessons, you are going to see some instruction on features, screenshots guiding you on these features, some opportunities to review the videos and practice with the software, then check your work against my results. You may need to watch the videos more than once and/or pause in key places to review the screenshots of results. When you have completed this lesson, you will have completed the A content of the course. One of the Blackboard quizzes will ask you some questions about your project file to make sure you have been practicing and getting the correct results. The first step is to create a task list. So let's get started. You may remember that when we looked at the work breakdown structure and network diagram, we talked about some task name conventions. We use nouns for product-oriented summary tasks and either use ing or include the word phase for time-based phases. Detailed tasks are written to resemble commands. This way, everyone will see their instructions. For the milestones, we want to have a past tense verb with the deliverable. While these aren't firm requirements, they can be helpful when trying to understand a complex plan. This is also a good time to pause for a moment and remember the key formula. We'll be seeing it in action soon. Take a moment to think about the meaning of the formula and how duration may change when we add or subtract resources. Also, remember that duration can be both larger or smaller than work. If we have 80 hours of work, that work most likely will be performed over a period of 2 weeks or more. The elapsed time that passes will be much greater than 80 hours. On the other hand, if we have 8 hours of work that can be equally divided and given to 2 equally skilled resources, the expectation would be that the duration would be about 4 hours. In this case, the duration is about half the work. If you change 1 or 2 of 3 factors in the equation, the software can compute the third. As we go through this and other lessons, I'm also going to show you how to enter the work estimates, enter the resources, schedule the time off for resources, and possibly indicate they have less than 100% capacity for the project, and we'll let the software compute the durations. There are other ways of doing this that are possible, but I've found from many years of experience that this gives you the best model of time for your project. To begin, start MS Project 2013 and open up the file that you saved from the last lesson. All the options are set up, so it should be ready to go. I'm going to go through a few slides of instruction, demonstrate each function, and then you will have a chance to practice. I suggest you watch each video without interruption at least one time, then repeat the video and pause it at key times so you can complete the tasks, update your file, and have the best results for the quiz based on your project plan results. On the table entry portion of the Gantt chart view, you will enter just these names, one per line in the task name column. These are selected tasks from our work breakdown structure. By default, there is not a column to input the effort estimates. In MS Project terminology, effort is called work. You can go to the far right of the input table or right-click on the table header to get the opportunity to add the work column. Once you've added the column, you can go ahead and enter the values for just the tasks shown on this chart. For the task Coordinate Magazine Feature Articles, enter the start and end dates in the appropriate columns as shown. You will note that a little calendar icon appears in the indicator column, telling us that we've constrained this task to be completed only between these dates. We might want to do this if we've set aside some time already to meet with magazine editors to introduce them to the book. For the task Launch Public Web Portal, make it a manually scheduled task. In the Start field, then, type about 2 weeks before launch complete. Here we don't know exactly when we want to schedule this, but our discussion with the stakeholders may have told us that it's usually around 2 weeks before the end of a book launch project. So for now, by making this a manually scheduled task, we can retain that note. This is one of the few real benefits of manually scheduled tasks. Numbers and dates can be replaced with text until we plan further. Now let me show you how to navigate and perform the key tasks I just presented. In this navigation session, I'm going to review the actions that were presented in the last group of slides. So to save you from watching me just typing, I've already entered the task names as they were indicated. And I did want to show you that if we double-click here, that will bring open the task information box, and that's one of the several ways that you can correct any typing errors in the text. We'll just click OK now. I also wanted to point out that all of the tasks are starting on 1/1/16, the project start date, and we don't have the duration because we don't have enough information yet to plan that. So now we need to add the work estimates, and I'm going to slide this pane over just a little bit. And you'll see an Add New Column here. I can click on that, scroll down, and remember we mentioned that effort is considered work to Microsoft Project. So I can select work here, and you'll notice that the column appears. The other way I could have done this would be to right-click anywhere on the heading and do an Insert Column. And right now, I'm not going to insert a column here. Just wanted to show you the alternative. I'm just going to close that out. And let's start entering the estimates. So I have 8 hours for assign launch team members. I have 80 hours for designing and ordering marketing material. And I have 16 hours for coordinate magazine feature articles. Notice I'm just typing the numbers and enter. And hours are assumed per the options we've set up. Now the next task is to enter the dates for coordinate magazine feature articles. I'm going to come over to this start box, and you'll notice that it starts on 1/1/2016. That's the date I entered, and I'm going to change that to Monday the 18th, and I'm going to change the finish to Monday the 25th. And as soon as I do that, notice that I lost sight of the bar here. One way that I can get that sight back is to go to View and click on Entire Project. You'll notice it's moved here into its normal place, as specified by the dates. On the Launch Public Web Portal task, here's the task mode. I'm going to select Manually Scheduled, and that will allow me to type text in this box and I'm going to type about 2 weeks before end of launch project. And so now I have a note to myself as to when I should fill in the date. That ends this navigation session. You should have a file that looks something like this. Please save it and keep a copy of it for the next navigation session. Now it's time for you to practice. You will need to enter the task names, create the work column, and enter the effort estimates, and change the dates as indicated in the slides to specific dates and a note. When you are done, resave your file. Again, it's new book launch, your first name, your last name, .mpp, on your desktop or in your documents folder, so you can easily find it again for the next video lesson. You can use the Save As function on the Backstage view to perform this task. Once you've had the opportunity to follow along and enter the information, your Gantt chart, table, and graph should look something like this. Note that all tasks, with the exception of the Coordinate Magazine feature articles, tasks start on the project start date. Duration is not yet determined because we do not have a third element of the formula, that is, units or resources. Project automatically added a constraint to the date-driven task and has moved it into the correct position in time based on the constraint. This is shown by the small calendar icon in the indicator column. When you were able to get this result, please continue to watch the video. Now let's add a milestone to the plan. You may remember from class that milestones can be used to show when deliveries are to be made, important dates or events occur, or we want to celebrate something. Let's just note the end of our planning phase with a milestone. Click on the Public Launch Phase task. Click on the Task tab and look for the Insert group. Click on Milestone function and type Plan Completed. Here you should note that an alternative to these instructions is to add any task and assign 0 units, hours, days, etc., for the duration. This will convert a regular task to a milestone. We may also want to start organizing our tasks into phases, so let's look at a couple ways we can do this. First, we could multi-select all tasks below Public Launch Phase. Remember, Project is just like Word and Excel in many respects, and Shift clicks and Control clicks work to select ranges or a collection of items. Just like Word and Excel, Project has an indent and outdent function that can group tasks under a summary task. Now let's try another method. Select the name of the first task in the plan. On the Insert group of the Task tab, we can click on Summary, just as we did for Milestone. We can name this Planning Phase and use the indent and outdent features as necessary to group the tasks that belong in that phase. If you are uncertain, you can consult the work breakdown structure. Now I will demonstrate the navigation for the new functions we've just learned. Once again, it's time to look at the navigation that we presented in the last few slides. I'm already open on my project and ready to go. And our first task was to enter a milestone. I'm clicking on Public Launch Phase. I'm going to go to Task, and in the Insert group, I can find Milestone. I click on Milestone, and I type Plan Completed. That's all it takes to create a milestone. The second way that I had presented was that we could simply change a duration to 0. So if I type 0 in this box, Launch Public Web Portal becomes a milestone. I'm going to undo that. And the next task was to group the tasks of the public launch phase together. I'm going to click on Distribute Advanced Copies. I'm going to shift-click on Launch Public Web Portal, and I'm going to use the indent. You'll notice that Public Launch Phase is now a summary task with 3 tasks underneath it. That completes this video and the navigation session. Now it's time for you to practice. Rewatch portions of the video as necessary and add the milestone and summary tasks as shown in the slides. When you are done, resave your file on the desktop or in your Documents folder so you can easily find it again for the next video lesson. You can use the Save As function on the Backstage view to perform this task. If you've been following along, this is what your Gantt chart input table should look like. Note that our durations are still all unknown as we do not have the resources applied yet. Here is the Gantt chart view. Note that Plan Completed is at 1/1, the actual project start date, because milestones do not have time or resources governing how they are placed. For example, the working calendar specifying the weekend days is ignored. Milestones, therefore, are best placed by adding dependencies so they are dynamically updated as plans change. When you are able to get this result, you are ready to start the next video in this lesson. Lesson 3 consists of 5 parts. You just completed part 1 of 5. Please proceed to watch part 2.